And I fully admit I cry every time I read it with her because it's just, they did such an excellent job writing it. It's so well done. I love it. Hello and welcome to Mile High Homeschool. My name is Megan, and if you're new here, I'm a second-generation homeschooler, but I'm by no means an expert in anything that I talk about. I just hope that what I share can encourage and inspire you along the way. In today's video, I wanted to share with you guys some of my favorite books. A lot of them are books for me as a mom and a teacher, but a lot of them are books that are fun to read with your kids, and I think that you and your family will enjoy them as well. This video is actually part of a collaboration playlist that's put together by Abby from Rooted in Rest and Jessica from The Walduck Way. They put together an incredible playlist every single month and are awesome creators. Be sure to take a look at that and check out all the other videos from the other creators that are on there as well. There's a ton of really useful information and just helpful encouragement as well. So be sure to dive into that and see what everybody else has to share. So I have a handful of books here to share with you guys, and a lot of them are books that I don't hear people talk about too often. So I'm not going to go super into depth on any one of them. I'm more just going to kind of talk about where I found it, why I like it, and I'll be sure to put a list in the description so you can see what they all are as well. A lot of the books that I want to share with you, I actually got at our local homeschool conference. So I really want to encourage you that if you have the opportunity to go to a homeschool conference, especially if you're new to homeschooling, I think it's a really good idea and a really good investment of your time. There were so many speakers that were very encouraging and uplifting to me, and I got so much good information from it. I got to hear from people that I had heard talk a long time ago or that I had wanted to hear talk. I'd seen them share on podcasts or videos like that and got to see them in person and ask questions, which was really cool. So I really recommend you attend. Our local conference here in Colorado is put on a group called CHEC. It actually stands for Christian Home Educators of Colorado. You can go to CHEC.org and see the information. They're doing another homeschool conference this year, and be sure to take a look at it. It's one that I know a lot of different homeschoolers go to. Last time I went, I actually met a couple of moms who had driven down from Montana to attend, which was crazy to me, but it was the closest one to them and they loved it and just made a mom's weekend out of it. And so I really encourage you to take a look because there's a lot of cool things you can get out of a local homeschool conference. Like I said, a lot of these books came from that homeschool conference, and a couple of them that I have are actually by a gentleman named Todd Wilson. And so these books, How to Choose Relationships When There's So Much to Do, and then also How to Be a Great Wife Even Though You Homeschool. They're both super funny and very realistic, and as you can see, they're very short books, which is good because I feel like a lot of times as a homeschool mom, you have so much to read that you're just like, another book on my nightstand, like it's taller than the bed, it's gonna fall on top of me and give me a concussion. Like, no, like I don't want to add a bunch to your to-do list. So they're quick and easy, they're good to read through. He's got good discussion questions, that kind of thing for you to go through. And they were really encouraging to me. And Todd Wilson actually has a website. It's called familymanweb.com. So be sure to take a look at that. He and his son do a podcast together called The Smiling Homeschooler, which is great. I love listening to it. Todd and his wife Debbie have homeschooled for a long time, and she's still homeschooling their youngest kids. Their oldest are out on their own and married and starting families of their own, which is really cool. So they've got a lot of experience and just really cool perspective. And he just really wants to encourage homeschool moms and dads and just families and help them enjoy their homeschooling journey, which is cool. He's got books for dads too. He's got funny comics and stuff that he's put together. So I really encourage you to take a look at those books. Another set of books that I found out about at our local homeschool conference was actually from a group called Lamplighter Publishing. I'm not sure if you've heard of them all or not. Be sure to take a look. I love their books. I've got just a couple of them here with me. They are gorgeous. Like, the covers are so beautiful. They have this gorgeous gilt and they're like hardcover books. And they're super fun stories. And they're not what I would say super intense or anything like that. Like, I would think you could do them as read alouds as early as like first, second, third grade with some of them. A lot of them are books that kids could read for themselves as literature books once they're older, but they are more what I would call like virtue books. So they're books that really encourage kids to pursue courage and bravery and honesty and hard work and being truthful. And so it's just a really cool set of books that they have put together. Like, they're fun stories. They've got great writing in them, cool illustrations. They're really fun. And like, some of these, my favorites here are Girls of Courage Who Became Women of Influence. And so it's a bunch of stories of a bunch of real women, Helen Keller, Louisa May Alcott, a whole bunch of them, and this one which is really cool. Or this one called The Giant Killer, and it's about a knight who kills like the giants of pride and sloth and selfishness, which is really cool. So I definitely encourage you to check out the books by Lamplighter Publishing. They've got a whole series of them, hundreds of books. Some of them are series, some of them are standalones. Honestly, they remind me a lot of the G.A. Henty novels, but for like a younger age and a younger audience. So they're really cool. Another book that I really like, I didn't get it at our homeschool conference, but I definitely think you should take a look at it, is called Legends of Liberty. It's by a gentleman named Rick Green, as well as a bunch of other authors. And they have taken the time to dig into different historical figures in American history and really deep dive into their stories and some of the stories about them. And they really like find eyewitness accounts, letters from these people, talk to people who knew them or like were descended from them, that kind of thing, and really deep dive into these stories, which is so cool. And the way they write is so immersive, and it's a super fun book for you to read just as an adult, like if you like history. But even as a history book for kids, as something as like a supplement with American history, it's incredible. I'd say maybe 4th and 5th grade and up, because it does talk about war and that kind of stuff. Like there's some heavier topics in it. Some of them are war heroes, but definitely worth looking at into. Rick Green is an incredible historian and has some really cool perspective on it. A couple more books that I really love for me as a mom that helped me a lot, just because my kids are really young, and I know when you have young kids, when you're really kind of like quote unquote in the trenches of like diapers and breastfeeding and naps and schedules and teething and like trying to get toddlers to understand and everybody just to keep their shoes on and get out the door, like life can seem really overwhelming, and the days can just kind of slip by and you feel like you're never getting in a rhythm, you're never getting in a good grasp on your days. And it's really easy, at least it was for me, to feel very overwhelmed, it's hard to admit that as a mom, that you feel overwhelmed doing something that you've wanted to do. Like you wanted to have kids, and now you feel overwhelmed by them. Or maybe you were so excited and you wanted to be a stay-at-home mom, and your family made sacrifices for you to be a stay-at-home mom, and now you feel overwhelmed by that. That can feel really discouraging and hard to share and admit to people. But I definitely recommend that you do find someone to help support you in that journey, because I know how you feel. And then these are some books that I recommend reading because they were very helpful for me in processing those emotions and figuring out a way to not feel so overwhelmed. One of my favorites is called Own Your Life by Sally Clarkson. I love Sally Clarkson. I have not read a single one of her books that I didn't like. She's an incredible author, an incredible speaker, such an encourager. She homeschooled her kids as well. But I definitely recommend this book because it really helps you kind of define a lot of the things in your life that may be kind of hard to nail down, of what you're wanting to do and your kind of like big purpose and big picture things that can be hard to really put a name on and that kind of stuff. It's incredibly encouraging. So I definitely recommend everyone take a look at that. It's an incredible book. And another handful of books too that are really great, especially when you have little kids, or like me, I worked right up until my oldest was born. And I had kind of a struggle transitioning from working full-time to being at home full-time and figuring out how to make that work. So I really recommend Loving the Little Years by Rachel Jankovic. I think that's how you say her name. I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing it, but it's a really great book. I love this one. It's very relatable. You'll feel seen as you read that. And then also Steady Days by Jamie C. Martin. It's a really good one just for helping get a handle on your days and just to not feel as overwhelmed or like they're just slipping by, or you wake up and you're like, it's February, what happened to the month of January? You know, like it's a good one for that. And so even maybe if your kids, like you're not homeschooling yet, but you just are like, man, I want to homeschool, but I feel overwhelmed just doing this. I can't imagine adding school on top of it. Please read these books. They will be so encouraging for you. And even though they're not really about homeschooling, just to have a better handle on your day and to feel like you're more, not necessarily more in control, but just more like on top of, or more capable and equipped, I guess. more equipped, not more capable, just more equipped to handle what you need to each day. I promise I'm wrapping up. I've just got 2 more sets that I want to talk to you about of books that I recommend for you as a mom, for parenting and homeschooling both. A handful. This one is called Wired That Way by Martha Littauer, or Littauer. It's not a parenting book, it's a personality book. And so I'm not a huge believer in like, this is your personality and it's your destiny for the rest of your life. Like I don't know my Enneagram number. There's like the Myers-Briggs ENFP, whatever it is. I don't know what my letters are with that. I don't. I read this and this was really helpful for me. It helped me understand my personality. It helped me understand my husband's personality. I reread it when we had kids. It has helped me understand their personalities and how they perceive what I'm saying and how I'm perceiving what they're saying. And even coming down to the fact of why you have to treat each kid differently. Because you do, because they're all different people. And so this is really helpful for me with that one. Another one I really recommend is called Honey for the Child's Heart, or Honey for a Child's Heart by Gladys Hunt. This is an incredible one just for understanding the impact of reading in books in your family. And then it has a bunch of book lists in it too, which I love. I love books. The closet back here, it was the first project I did when we moved into our house. I turned it into a library and I love it. And so yeah, this is one of my favorites as well. And then the last one in this section is actually by Clay and Sally Clarkson. It's called Educating the Wholehearted Child. And this is an incredible book about homeschooling, but also discipline and parenting and just the atmosphere that you create in your home and all the different things that go into it. There's so much incredible information in here of ideas or discussions and questions and Bible verses, and it's just a great book. Like, it's so hard. I could do an entire video on just this book, and maybe someday I will, but it's an incredible book about how educating your kids is not just about school, it's about everything and everything that goes into it. And so I definitely recommend you take a look at this. So these last 3 books are actually books that you would read with your kids or to your kids, or they could read themselves. And each one's a little bit different. So the first one is called One Blood for Kids. And if you've ever struggled to talk to your kids about race, or maybe you haven't struggled, but you don't know where to start that conversation, or you don't know what that conversation should look like or how to phrase it, and you're just filled with questions about it, this is an excellent book about that. It separates the political correctness and like weird buzzwords and that kind of stuff, and actually just breaks it down from an apologetics standpoint. So it's by the gentleman Ken Ham, who started the Creation Museum and built the Ark in Kentucky and that kind of stuff. Like, it's an incredible book. He has a One Blood that's like a book for adults. That's a really big one. And then this one is like specifically designed for kids with illustrations and all kinds of stuff. The next one is called Little Pilgrim's Progress, and it's by Helen L. Taylor, and it is an incredible book. The illustrations are gorgeous in it, and it's like a little forest creature version of Pilgrim's Progress, and it's very appropriate for younger kids. So I'm reading it with my first grader, and I fully admit I cry every time I read it with her because it's just, they did such an excellent job writing it. It's so well done. I love it. Highly recommend this. It's an excellent read aloud. It's like a family treasure book that you could read over and over and over again. And then another one of those that I love is called Treasury for Children. It's James Herriot's Treasury for Children. And it's little stories from his book, All Creatures Great and Small. And once again, just gorgeous illustrations, like these beautiful watercolors, and like, they are such cool animal stories. I love them. I will give you just a heads up, they do talk about animals dying in a couple of them, because it is like a true stories of a veterinarian, but it's an incredible storybook and I love it. It's one of my favorites. I know I'm going to read it with all of my kids multiple times over. I know they're going to read All Creatures Great and Small when they're older. Like, I just love James Herriot's story and all of that. So just wanted to end this video on a lighter note with some fun read alouds. But I hope that you guys enjoyed this and got some great ideas of books to fill your library with. Please read them because they're helpful for you, not because some lady on the internet told you to. But I hope that they are helpful. I hope that they're encouraging, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time.